All right, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. This is episode 436, and I have a special guest with me. Special is an understatement, but very very good friend of mine, Hampton University, real HU, uh, counterpart, colleague, friend as well. She's an educator. She's a community leader, all around uh, beautiful light and you know impactful person in the community, and society in general. Stands for a lot of amazing things, puts in a lot of work. We have Domonique, Natasha in the building. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we can get right to it. We can get right to it. So first thing, I want to get into is what it is that you do. And I know, you're into a lot of things, but how would you describe your role, or your or multiple roles?
In general, I am an educator. I guess you can say like that would be the all encompassing theme. But my specialty is social emotional development. And
Okay.
so while I work with kids and adults, I believe that the impact of the work that I do is to ensure that people are able to develop themselves and develop emotional resilience. So that's the space that I live in. I do a lot of work within the community, specifically within at risk, under resourced communities like I grew up in. And not necessarily so I can be like, oh, let me give back to the people, where I came from or all those things like that, but because that's where the work like really needs to happen, right? So yeah, I'm a youth advocate, a woman's advocate, like that's me.
That's incredible. That's dope. That's dope. And I like what you mentioned just about the emotional resilience and the ability to um, you know bounce back, but in a healing way, not in
Absolutely.
a robotic type of way, not in a numb type of way or inhuman. You know what I'm saying? But more so like able to find strengths. And I'm somebody that's strength based as well. And I definitely believe that energy is energy. So there's
Mhm.
always keys, there's always advantages, there's always gems, and there's always fuel as well. So I think what you're doing is definitely dope. And overall, what would you say the problem you're trying to solve with all of your efforts? Because even though they're all doing something, right? Everything is
Mhm.
interconnected, and I'm sure very very much central to who you are. So what are you looking at, big picture, as far as the problem?
um the first thing that came to my mind is I'm trying to change the world. um, but like if that's my overall end goal, yes, I'm trying to impact generations after me. I'm trying to um, help people to break generational curses. I guess that is
Mhm.
the biggest thing that I can say. I feel like in our community we have lost the sense of community, right? So like we live in this society that focuses on everybody mind your business, right? You mind the business that pays you. All the memes say, drink your water, mind your businesses. But when everybody's minding our own individual businesses, right, what we are doing, who is left to guide the young people to move forward in a direction that is going to help us not relive the things that have happened in the past, right? What did Whitney say? I believe the children are our future, right? All of that stuff, right? So I am um, I am working hard to develop or to help people develop the capacity to be able to do the work that needs to be done, right? So um, if you pay attention to the generation that's right under us, we are what are they calling us? Geriatric millennial. Oh my god.
I never heard that. I never
Oh,
heard that. But
Marcus,
millennial starts,
no.
I think, in 1980. So we
It
ain't
does, but they right because we're on the earlier end, right? So
earlier in. Yeah.
1980, they're calling us geriatric millennials, but the Gen Zers and the people that are coming like right after us, they're coming to shake things up, right? And so it is. I feel like it is my purpose. I am out in the troops with them, right? But they need to be able to have the emotional capacity to be able to handle all of the things that they will have to face. You cannot expect to go up and change systems and fight systemic racism and all the other things that are currently like holding us back if you can't handle some adversity, if you're not able to bounce back. So I work to help develop specifically teens in the 14 to 19-year-old space,
Okay.
develop their capacity and make sure that they are able to handle the things that come their way.
Got you. Okay, and that's a very necessary role, and it makes a lot of sense because you say they're coming to shake things up, but in essence, the energy is there, but we
Uh-huh.
don't want it to be a kamikaze. We want them to not thrust the energy and then self-destruct and disintegrate.
Correct.
Like you said, to focus on the resilience and the preparation, because one thing about that generation, and I think this is true as far as just from agendas and the systems you mentioned, is the generations behind us are, I think it's intentional across the board, but just are almost put in an environment that makes them less emotionally capable,
Oh, uh-huh.
and more fragile and more susceptible, to things, and more just emotionally dysregulated. You know what I'm saying? And because they're inundated with more things. They're more, the social media era, and a lot of the self-esteem, self-concept, image, all of that is tied to these, the technologies.
Mhm.
Whereas, our generation, one of the strengths is that, we know we know the internet, and we know the not internet time. Like
Yes.
we're able to, so we didn't grow up in pouring our self-esteem and self-concept through social media and the internet. You know what I'm saying? So we can detach when necessary. Like we
Hmm.
have we're able to do that. No matter how much tech, you know, rules the land, we still keep a part of half of ourselves able to rely on, to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, and rely on just, other things outside of technology. So I think that your role is extremely critical, uh to help them to gain what they lack in conjunction with what they already have. And
Hmm.
then, so that makes the perfect marriage of what they come in with, and then adding to that what has been taken from them, so to speak. So,
Absolutely.
great work. Now,
If I
I'm
could add, if
go
I
ahead.
could add one other thing to that, I think a difference too, like that you pointed out with our specific generation and what I am working to help people, I think, develop in general, not just kids, is the importance of human connection.
Yeah,
Um, I think that technology has made things much easier for us convenience wise, but I think it has robbed us of the need or the understanding of the importance of human connection. I tell the people that I coach all the time that relationships drive results, and so now we are so focused on individuality, right? It is important to know yourself as an individual and show up as your whole authentic space in every space that you occupy. I do preach that, but I think you also have to understand the skills it takes to build, establish, and maintain relationships so that you can achieve the things that you are looking to achieve. So that was just my little last 2 cents on that.
for sure. No, no, we can even extend that further, because I think that, even at the root, and I talk a lot about dating, and even at the root, when it comes to detachment, not only from a societal standpoint, but also from an in-house standpoint, where a lot of the youth, are not don't have healthy and predictable attachments to their parents. You know what I'm saying? So then they go into the world and try to find love through all the wrong means, technology, the self-esteem, all of these different things. And then, so they to for them, the human relationship element is scary, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, because the insecurity is embedded, and they can't trust anybody because
Yep.
they've been, all the way up, if we're talking, young adults in dating age and just, sort of that realm. That's when it hits the hardest, when they start being able to date, because that's when because they're past the point of, just having cool friends they're kicking it with. Now their heart's really on the line, and they're creating their first cycles, right? And I catch them. I talk to our age range about it. I catch us there, but there's 17, 18, 19 going through it early,
Come
because
on now. Come on.
that's the brink. That's the inception right there, and that's where, the hormones are at their height. Everything is heightened, and unfortunately, a lot of self-harm, a lot of all of these different kinds of things. So somebody like yourself being in that space, tapping into that emotional resilience, putting the battery in their back, building the strengths, giving them the praise and acknowledgement, but also preparing them for what's ahead. That kind of training doesn't happen in the normal trajectory of education. And if we're just looking at it, what I'm saying, on a basic scale. So without people like yourself, there's a huge gap. And I know for a fact, I've done some school counseling, in the past, and made friends with just a lot of teachers and things like that. And I salute educators, just period, because of the fact that there are so many roles within one that you have to fulfill or are expected to fulfill, and the compensation nowhere near matches the dedication and the split, almost, not only just split attention, but the multifaceted expertise expectation. Like, you have to be a friend, a teacher, a psychologist, a
Yes.
referee,
Yes.
a mentor. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? And that's
Yes.
only on Monday from 9 to 12. Then from the rest of the
Right.
day, the other 30 roles get put into play. Like,
Correct.
and for that, there's that, and people like yourself are important also as well, just because the youth need more people who are invested in the big picture, which is why I asked
Yes.
you before, like, what's your big picture? And because without the big picture, we have individuals who are in the roles that are pivotal, but are not heart invested in the work, or carry agendas, or carry hatred, or carry racial, just so many things, and it's such an important role. It's such a pivotal role. If you think of, like, and I always think to this, like, when you have, I don't know if they really still do this. I don't watch a lot of NBA, but like, I know they used to have, like, they would cut in, but like playoffs or something like that. They would cut and have like little splices of little interviews or something like that, and
Okay.
all of the top athletes, outside of their mom, the one person or the few people that they mentioned were the teachers that they remember. You know what I'm saying? A certain teacher stood out, a certain coach stood out, a certain mentor in the school stood out, right? So when we're talking about success in a tangible, form, internal success is critical as well. And I think that's the you're hitting that critical point, and that's one of the biggest, most important terrains, period. Because I don't care how much money you got, you will ruin it. You will squander it. You will get locked up. You will make irrational, emotional decisions if
Absolutely.
you don't have this structure intact and in place. So thank you for all of that, for everything you doing. You know what I mean? It's top level, and I'm glad. And I I want to segue here into where did that all come from, right? So when we're talking about origins, we're talking about, I always try to look at, when somebody's deep within their purpose, what were the early signs of that? What was, young Dominique into doing? What kind of activities, what kind of clubs
Oh
would you do at
Lord.
recess? You feel me? So give us a look at that,
Okay.
and any ties that or any skills or things you were interested in then that tie up to what you're doing now?
So I laughed because young Dominique would have never said that she was going to work in the field of education. Young
Okay.
Dominique is a superstar. You hear me? Like
Hmm.
when I was in elementary school, when people would ask me, Dominique, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I am going to be, not want to be, I am going to be the first Black woman president of the United States of America.
There
Right? Like
you
this.
go. There you
This
go.
has been, in me for a long time. When I was graduating from college, I wanted to be an international runway supermodel, right? Like
Mhm.
my background is in the arts. I have been a musician officially since I was 10 years old. That's when I learned how to play the clarinet. But honestly, I really think since I came out of the womb. So every opportunity I had to participate in some type of extracurricular activity that involved the arts, whether it was singing. I never did like formal dance training until college, but like singing, drama, theater, things like that. Public speaking. First grade, Miss Cunningham. Look at that. First grade, Miss Cunningham put me in an oratorical contest where
Hmm.
I had to recite the poem "Don't Quit." Right. So like
Mm.
all of these things have been um, instilled in me since like a very little girl. Now, the funny thing though, I have been in education now for 7 years.
Hmm.
For 7 years, and I told you I never thought that I would be there. But when I first became a teacher, I loved it so much, right? And I made a Facebook status like, who would have ever thought that Dominique would have been a teacher? All of my friends, all of girl, I don't know how you didn't think you was gonna be a teacher. We knew you would be a teacher. My best friend Marissa, bless her heart, my niece is graduating tomorrow, so shout out to Taylor. She's graduating from high school tomorrow. That's Marissa's daughter. But I remember her specifically making a comment that said, "You've been teaching us ever since we were little." I've known her like for more than 30 years, and I'm about to be 37 this year. And so she pointed out things about me correcting people's grammar and not allowing them to use curse words and like certain, we don't do that here. Or I think about organizing girl groups, like we would write songs and like all of these things, participating in the choir. Leadership became more of a thing like the older I got. So I think I've been blessed to have an innate ability to connect with people, and that allows me to have influence.
Hmm.
I don't take that for granted. So I am very careful with how I live my life so that the people who are using me as an example, right? Everything that I go through is to be able to help somebody else. Those people who are using me as an example don't see me as a stumbling block.
Hmm.
Um, and I would say, while that is a um, honorable and notable trait to have, it is the word that came to my mind, for a lack of a better term, it is imprisoning, because
Mm.
it makes you have to live up to the ideals of perfection, right? You don't want to lead people down the wrong path, so you always have to be perfect. And then when I would engage in activities that are not perfect, right? Because I'm human, I would be so hard on myself and like think that other people were being so hard on me. But nobody expected me to be perfect. I expected me to be perfect. I exuded perfection. So like the older that I've gotten, the more life experience that I've obtained, like the things that I've been through in general require me now to show up as my whole self in every space that I occupy, because I was about to say the capacity. I probably do have the capacity, but I don't have the desire to like switch back and forth and weave in and out. With me, what you see is what you get. I'm going to be the same person that you meet when you first meet me, that I will be in 5 years. You might get to see different levels of me or layers of me, right, as we go deeper. But I promise to be my whole authentic self. So yeah, that was a lot about where all that stuff came from. But I think people who know me can kind of see all of those things in me. I try. I sing when I speak, right? Like that. That's not intentional. Like it comes out that way. I'm extra than a mug, right? I'm very theatrical, but I'm also super strategic because in addition to like being a part of the arts and like being able to display the talents that I've been given, I'm grateful that my father made me recite every night before I go to bed. I can do anything if I try. So what I work even today, like I didn't realize that that was a thing for me that even like stood out until you work through these things in therapy, right? Like going through depression and all of that. But the fact that I had to, that is ingrained in my memory. I can do anything if I try is one of the catalysts or the driving factors to help me help other people do everything with intention.
Hmm.
Because, you know, there is no try, there's only do, right? So you set your intention on what you're going to do, and then you figure out the steps to help you get there. I feel like people get so stuck um, in places because it's difficult to resolve the conflict or to like get through, but you could do anything if you try to.
Nah, that's a beautiful journey, and that's incredibly important. That messaging, and I'm glad that was given to you by your dad, just in a repetitive form, because you
Mhm.
know that message being ingrained is priceless, and it's a key tagline to everything that you're doing now, like you said.
Mhm.
And one comparison or one thing that parallel that I drew, I know it seems like, okay, I had no idea or whatever, but the core was there. If you think of, okay, I'm gonna be the first black
Oh, yeah.
woman president, uh, what is a president comprised of? It's multifaceted influence, right?
Yeah.
So if you think of what you're doing now, you're a multifaceted influencer, right? So like you said, you have the arts, you have the way that you communicate, but you have the innate ability to influence others, to grow, to change, to be changed,
Mhm.
and to want to do better, to want to do more, and to be able to trigger them emotionally as well. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because I think the most, for me, the most effective educators or people who influence others can do so in a multifaceted approach. You know what I'm
Agreed.
saying? And that's even with my approach. Like the written word. Like audio, visual, music, acting.
Mhm.
Like what I'm saying? Like because people learn differently in all different types of ways, as you already know. And then so if you can put a little bit of everything in there and shake
Yeah.
things up and be able to trigger people to that, that positive mood, that positive mindset, but be taking them somewhere, not
Mhm.
just evoking these emotions and then letting it dissipate, like doing
Correct.
that with the, like you said before, being strategic about, okay, now that we up here, we done got the yoga. We relieve the stress. We got the music. We all up here now.
What do
Where we
we do
going
with
with
it?
this?
That's
You know
it.
what I'm saying?
That's it. That is it.
Right. So we've conjured the internal fuel. Now where's the destination from there? And that
Mhm.
is incredibly powerful. To be able to kind of lead and take people there and be be responsible for that. Now with all of what you bring, right? And all of the roles that you fulfill, how do you take care of yourself? How do you recharge? How do you battle
Ooh.
against the perfection, response and things like that? How do you, I guess, bring yourself back into grounded mode so that you can go out and do it again the next day?
Um, so I made all those like extra faces because your girl is kind of low right now, right? So in the all my educators who are watching, y'all know this time of the year is tough to trudge through. Like we are almost at the very end, and we give out so much to like help develop other people that we're exhausted right here. So self care is super important. And some of the things that I engage in, I am a yoga enthusiast. I'm not a yoga teacher. People keep thinking I'm a yoga teacher because I'm a teacher of everything, but I have not gotten my yoga certification yet. But I do try to be disciplined and get on my mat every day. I'm not always successful at that, but what yoga teaches you is that it is not about the destination, it's about the journey. And so I've learned to like give myself grace, like in that space. I dance a lot, so like I enjoy making them little TikTok videos, you know,
Yeah,
especially.
I seen you be popping it on the little TikTok. I'm like, all right, you shaking up something.
Right, you know, a little something. But and when you see the ones that come out really good, right, like that's typically when I'm at my lowest point because I'm trying to like, you know, rejuvenate those type of things. I spend a lot of time outside in nature. There is, and this is a new thing. My friends now, my best friend in the whole wide world, her name is Marcy Lenice McKeithen. Hi, Marcy. She came to visit me in my new place because I moved a couple years ago. And when she walked in, she said, Damo, who would have ever thought that you became this earthy? You see, wrong. So I have plants all in my house, right? Like my yoga mats and all these things. I'm burning incense. But over the last couple of years, like I've recognized that like me being able to connect with nature gives me like a sense of grounding in myself. Like even being able to do yoga outside in the grass by the lake. Like you go, you know, up here in extended side angle, and it's like the sun just meets you and like refuels all of the energy that you have to give to everybody else. So I like to look cute. I like fashion, you know, all those type of things. But specifically, my prayer life, I am a avid believer, an avid believer because what my 36 years of life experience has shown me is that it never not works out. And it's not that it doesn't not work out because of anything that I have done. It's because of the path that God has placed me on and the connection that I have to him as my source. So reconnecting to the source, getting on my mat, eating good food, being outside, all these things, music. Before I got on here, I can't tell y'all some of the stuff I was listening to because it's a little ratchety, but you know, it hypes you up to remember that you're a boss, right? Like all of those type of things. So it's a variety of things that give me energy, and I have to be intentional though about what I engage in during which season, because what might work for me to repair my energy in June is not the same thing that works for me in November. So being that in tune with myself as a person, recognizing like my own emotional cycles and like all those type of things helps me to repair myself when I feel really low.
That's dope. That's dope. And I think that you know, you're right. Even even within seasons, you may have one thing that worked last night, and
That
then
won't work
tomorrow
today.
it don't work. That's why, you know, I always had like like a revolver mentality. Like, you know, you got to have something you got to have a lot of different things in the chamber to be able to rotate to as needed, and you know, to always be climbing that emotional ladder. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I like a lot of what you were saying, especially the outdoors thing, because I'm doing a lot of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I tried to grow a watermelon last year.
Oh, did it come out
It
right?
got like this, you know what I mean? And then, you know, but I'm doing hydroponics end of this year, but we gonna
Okay.
rap about that. But I like the outside stuff. I like the yoga outside type of vibe. And you know, having the sun, you know, the sun hitting, and because that's my thing. Like Planet Fitness is cool. I'd rather be outside doing something. Like I go to playgrounds and hit the jungle, you know, the jungle gyms and stuff like that. And that sun energy, that recharge is incredible. Plants, like you said, incense, all of this stuff, and the combinations of things like setting your stage, kind of, you know, setting up your ecosystem, which is why I enjoy you having You mentioned your home and things like that, and that's your headquarters. That's your
Mhm.
main, home base. So to have that just everywhere you look, kind of having these uh these self-care properties, these things that you can, that you don't even have to some of them you don't even have to interact with, because
Right.
it's coming towards you, and the feeling is there. So that's dope. So okay, so you got your your purpose work, you have your recharge, you're grounded, you have all of these different wonderful qualities, about you and things like that. Give me an idea of how just dating has gone for you. Where and you can start wherever you would like to, but I definitely enjoy looking at just the dating timeline, because I think when you go along your romantic timeline, you can see where you are by virtue of the people that you reflect, that you have, that you keep around, that you date for long periods of time, and what they exude is data, and is telling of where we are at that particular moment. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So uh, I'll let you answer this however you would like to, but how has it been going, and what would you want the viewers to know just about kind of what you're learning along the way?
Whew. I don't even really know where to begin with that. I'm gonna say that I want to say dating is difficult, but dating is not difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Partnership is difficult, and I think partnership can be it can feel difficult when you approach every dating situation as if this person is meant to be your life partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you that dating wise, it has been an interesting journey for me. I was actually talking to one of my girlfriends about this. Like, we can get a little personal here too. That a lot of the things, when I reflect over my life, I associate the situations with the person that I was dating at the time. Um, and like, you can kind of keep a timeline like of those type of things. But what I learned, I was married for almost 10 years. And so when we split, I had not like gotten into an official relationship in probably like 3.5, 4 years after that. I've been single, or I was single for like that amount of time. And there were some really rough seasons because I was looking at every person that I was dating as if he had potential to be my husband. And so once I adjusted that perspective, because every time you have to disconnect from the person that you thought might be like your forever, like it is draining. Like in those seasons when you are looking at dating in that specific perspective, um, you give and you give and you give and you give, and you think that the amount of love that you give to someone else is going to change who they are, but that, like, that's not how that works. And so what I have learned that I have a tendency to do as a Libra, right? Libras, we love, right? We are ruled by the planet Venus, all these new pretty shiny things. I'm going to make you feel great, but like, I go all in at the very beginning, and then after week like number 6, right? Week number 4, 6, then you start seeing, like, oh, this it's a little different than I thought. Then like week number 8 gets here, and it's like, oh, like, so you might not be a bad person, but you just have things that might not be compatible for me. And then like you have to try to recover in between and like all of that. So like the dating scene for me, now at this point, I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel like I've learned a lot about who I am as a person, and that is helping me to not adjust myself so much to try to meet the expectations or the desires of the other person, right? To change myself to be who they want me to be. It's either we fit and we work well together, or we don't. Now that's not to say that compromise is not important, right? Because it is.
Yeah.
But like a complete changing of character traits, I'm not willing to do that anymore. I am pretty comfortable in my skin. I know that I bring a lot to the table, but I've also learned that there are see, look, this is what all the older people would say. It's so many different ways to skin a cat, right? There are many different perspectives on the same situation. So two people can be in the same situation and experience it two completely different ways based on their previous life experience. So I am learning to not be so intolerant of differences when they occur, but to expect the conflict to arise and be comfortable in that place so that we can resolve it and move forward. Because I feel like that's something that I have been missing before in being able to establish long-term, long-lasting relationships. It's cool. I'm not visually like I'm kind of easy on the eyes, right? Like people are, you can attract somebody easily, but like building the long lasting connection has been what's difficult for me. So now like I am working to build long-term relationship skills and not just ones that like, like will be good for a situation for 2 to 3 months, because it doesn't work.
Right. No, that's for sure. And I think, something you said has stood out, just about when we go into situations and in the back of our mindset, we are, what's the word? Attached to that person being forever, being that person, right? So when we sort of pre-prescribe somebody to play a certain role, then that always affects our actions and our thought processes and how long we stay in there, right? And some of the ways that we may over sacrifice, stay too long, and put ourselves and just contort ourselves into whatever it takes for that reality that we made up in our head and attached to somebody who is not out forever. You see what I'm saying? So that's that tightening of the grip. Life, it's about letting go, right? And because the best scenarios don't require somebody to be held that tightly to a certain standard that we prescribe for them without their knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really big lesson. And it can be, given your history, there could be something unconscious at that time, because I know you said you learned a lot since then, and but at that initial point, something unconsciously wanting to redo it better, right? Because when you think of marriage, some of those thoughts that come into play when it doesn't work, especially when it's long term and it doesn't work, is some people be like, I ain't trying to do this ever again, right? Which, okay. And then other people are like, I want to get into something so I could try this again and get it right this time. You see what I'm saying? And though they can both be extremes, because extreme impact, for me, extreme impact yields extreme mindsets, because we don't want to experience high levels of pain and failure, perceived failure, more than once. Like nobody wants to do that. So it's like, all right, in coming out, and salute to you as well, just for taking that time off, right?
Oh yeah.
Because some people don't even do that. Some people, right back at it, and you know what I'm saying, and not even a chance to put the fully take the other white part of the Band-Aid off. Just they only got one part on, and it's halfway on, and then they right back in the game. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, you nigga, the peroxide, you nasty. So in a situation like that, I do commend you as number one, somebody who took the breaks necessary for yourself. Number two, who was willing to, learn from the process and be able to grow, and to keep adding, points of self healing along the way, right? Because these, plants, incense, yoga, these different things, these different forms of expression are part of keeping everything moving, right? Because a lot of times, sometimes relationships, they can be a halting point to where it gets all of our focus, and we neglect ourselves, we immerse ourselves, we enmesh ourselves, and then that's why when we come out of those
Come on.
situations, we got to pick ourselves up, we got to put the pieces back together. We don't know who we are, we don't know what we want, we don't know what the hell just happened, and we try to act normal and come back to reality. It's almost like going to prison and coming out. It's like American Gangster when he came out like 1995 or something, got locked up in the 70s, and he looking like, what the fuck is that? Like, what's going on outside? What is this?
Yeah.
Like the
Can I
pandemic,
add something
everybody
to that?
outside.
Yeah, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
You said something that really stood out about oh my gosh, don't do that. When they tell me what you just said about they when they come out they have to rebuild themselves. It's because you said they pour all of their energy into
Time
that
stops.
specific relationship. Time stops, and and that is also so. It's the reason why when they come out they have to pull themselves, back up and rebuild. But it's also why the situation doesn't work because
Mm.
they devote all of their time and attention to that one thing, and they expect to be refilled from that one thing to that one energy source. And this is something that I am learning, right? Before you get into a relationship, especially if you've like gone through therapy and you've like worked through some of your past traumas and you've done some shadow work, and like you have all of these things, right, where you pouring into yourself from multiple, locations. Then you meet this man and he's giving you like all of these things, and it's like, oh, it's this great oxytocin boost, and it feels amazing, like over the top. But it feels that way because your cup is already full, and what they're providing is just, like it's overflowing it. At that point, when you disconnect from your friends, from your yoga, from going out doing the things in nature that give you the oxytocin, that are your oxytocin generating activities, or like whatever provides you that substance, then you're expecting that one person to fill the role of 15 other things. And that is not fair on them. And it is not smart of you to do that. Right. So like, I think, like we women, like y'all always, we nag, we do all of this stuff, right? Because we want things to be right, but we're expecting, I believe we are expecting too much from just one person. And it's not to say that they cannot meet the needs, but if you expect one person to give you everything that your heart desires, then I think that it's a setup for failure, because that's not allowing them to be human. It doesn't let them have bad days. It doesn't let them have an attitude like for anything like at all, and it doesn't give them the space to be themselves. Like it's too much. So sorry.
Right. No. Exactly. Right. And that very setup is a form of self-sabotage, because
Mhm.
you put too much pressure, that the levees are going to break, and then you're back by yourself.
Yep.
So in essence, pushing somebody to the brink so that they abandon you, because there may be levels that you're used to that. So you know what I'm saying? There's all different kind of ways it can be interpreted, but I think that as an overall tendency, it has to go, and that's part of like a lot of episodes. I've really tried to hone in on that, and my overarching goal is to help people to reach that unconditional internal happiness, and ride with that, right? Reach that cruising altitude, create that new normal, and ride in that space. And anybody that comes in, like you said, is the icing on the cake, but
Right.
it doesn't shut the show down. It doesn't say, that now that this person is here, my happiness sustaining routine can halt, and I can put them in the place of. And
Yep.
because in essence, that's when people do that, that's the external view. That person is my happiness. You heard this. This person is my everything. This person is my other half. This power in words, and these things are cultural and cliche. These are part of the pop culture language of the United States. So these are things that people say often. And so when we have that type of view and that, you know, that externally based viewpoint, number one, that's what makes being single more scary, because if that partner or that soulmate is our happiness, where is it when we're not with anybody? You see what I'm saying? So if it's out there and all of the narratives you hear, the dating pools, trash, people this, men this, women this, right? And you hear, and that blanket is over everything, it's hopeless. It's the lottery. It's like, what's the point in even playing the game at that point? And that resistance, right? That lack of hope, right, feeds into, and that lack of expectation, all of that negative expectation, that self-talk, all of that jumbles up in here and creates your energy. So when you go on these dates, you're 100% resistant to it working out from gate, right? Ooh. And so you sit down with somebody knowing it ain't gonna work out for the long run. How can it work out for the long run? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? So all of these, this is like the 1, 2, 3, 4, just knockout, man. And you know, and it's so interesting, and you know, which is another reason why I do this every night, because this ain't this type of stuff. People need to hear it enough time. I have people that watch this that say they hear my voice like in their head. When they in their head sometimes. It's like it's weird, but it's important, because that repetition is important. That's how you reverse mindset, you know what I'm saying? That just those core beliefs and things like that, because that will get you in that, you know, that'll get us into trouble every time. And it sounds like you've learned a lot of these keys, like you picked up a lot of these keys, and being introspective, you know, along the way, and I definitely commend you on that, you know.
Thank you. Reflection is key.
Yeah,
is key. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you now, the conversations that I'm having with my girlfriends around dating are much different than what we had before. That consistently putting yourself out there, like after things not working out, the hopelessness that you talked about turns into a lack of belief that thing exists when you actually get it, and it makes it. When you meet the person that does accept your loud, extra twirling, you know, I twirl, twirling in the house, dancing in the mirror, super emotional, crying because you didn't get the small thing that you want, right? When you meet that person that accepts all of those things about you and still loves you, I almost want to say because of that, it's like, wait, nah, like something bad about to, let me just sit back, you know, and like see, because this can't be true. Like you can't be honest and telling me that you like this about for real, you know, like. And so I think it causes unnecessary friction in relationships, because then there's another, well, I don't want to call it unnecessary. I think it is something that we don't talk about. We don't acknowledge or like tap into it, because I do think that shell is necessary to protect your heart from being crushed in the dating scene, right? But where do you go? Where's the safe space to talk when it's time to remove the boundary? And those are the conversations I'm having with my girlfriends now. We are deserving of the love that we're receiving. We're deserving of the luxury, that the lives that we're creating. Like we don't always have to struggle. Like there is no reward in who struggles the most, you know, like someone, if you've met someone who is willing to accept you in all your crazy glory, then come on, like you deserve that. You've been working and healing to do all those things for this exact moment.
No, definitely. And you know, it just lends itself to, the self-sabotage and the creation of predictability,
Yep.
because when you get hit enough times, you want to anticipate the next one. It's hard to get to the point where you don't expect it at all.
Uh-huh.
That's a whole nother level. So you,
Uh-huh.
in any scenario, you're on super defense, hyper vigilant mode, and I liken this to PTSD, right?
It
I think there's a relationship PTSD, when it comes to
Absolutely.
dating, because those impactful traumas, I don't think enough attention is placed on the traumatic effect of repeated, infidelities, abuse, things like that, all of these different things. And people think they can just come out of that and then somehow dust off and get right back outside and try to pick people. Okay, the last person wore a lot of suits, so I'm gonna pick the person with more casual
Uh-huh.
clothes on. Like okay, you know what I'm saying? And then or the last person cheated. This person doesn't cheat, so I'm good now. But in all actuality, you're you can get into, just like PTSD, you can come out of the war zone into a safe environment and still, oh, well, yo, what was that? Oh, it was the baby. Oh, they may had a heart attack,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like, somebody dropped a quarter and you thought it was a gun shell casing or something, you know what I mean? Like just like a bullet casing or something like that. So, you know, um, there's a lot to be said to getting past that, and what you were mentioning, just as far as in a setting with your homegirls and things like that, just talking about how you deserve it. So when it comes, allow it. You put the energy out to receive something and it comes. That's the process. That's
Exactly.
not the hidden jack in the box, grenade underneath the, like, it doesn't have to be that. But the thing is, when we go back to the earlier point, if you're happy, whole, and healed, even if
Mm-hmm.
somebody does flip, number one, your intuition will spot it out early enough, so you're not in a position to be totally hurt by it, because you have no reason to ignore red flags at that point of perception. So I tell people it's all about the choosing space you're coming from and where you
Yes.
are with. You'll notice things faster. It won't be compound. You won't be 6 months in just figuring out who the hell this person is. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
know in the first 3 days that it's a hell no. So
Mm-hmm.
just to dissipate that fear and to be able to allow things into our experience. So that's a beautiful thing. So where can people find you, support you, show love, be a part of everything that you're doing? Tell the people how to get in contact.
So we didn't talk much about my baby here, but Urban Community Alliance is an
There you go.
organization that works to develop emotional resilience in teens. We focus on developing four specific categories, which we call our LEAF model. That's leadership skills, that's their emotional intelligence, their activism, and financial literacy, right? So we are now in summer planning and getting ready to launch our fundraising campaigns. So if you want to donate to the cause, you can donate to us on our Cash App, and that's just the $ UCA Chicago. That's what we have right now as we're working to continue to develop things. You can also follow us on social media. Our Instagram is _UCA Nation. And you find us on Facebook at Urban Community Alliance. That's who we are on there. And then if you want to see your girl, doing some yoga stuff, talking about emotional intelligence, and my two beautiful daughters, Catherine and Eva. Hey, y'all. My Instagram is _Domonique with two O's, Dominique Natasha. You can follow me there.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you. Thank you once again for coming through. Always a dope conversation. And again, you're doing some amazing work. Keep up the great society work and keep up the great self work as well.
Thank you.
Both going hand in hand. And I appreciate you just sharing your energy And thank you everybody who's going to be watching on the replay. Everybody watching down there, shout out to you guys. Definitely make sure that you subscribe. Definitely make sure you follow Domonique and support the cause. As you just heard, it's an incredible cause that it's going to be life changing, world changing, and changing the lives of young people and their predecessors as well. We can't shift this thing if everybody minds their business. You know what I'm saying? So we need to mind the business of our individual communities and the communities at large, so our people can have all the resources and all the assets available to them. So thank you very much again, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Bye, everybody.